Hello, everybody. My name is Bill from EOTPRO COM. Here I am today here to talk to you about Shelly's Volume VR4x2. On the screen here, we have Shelly's Volume VR4x1. And by no means does VR4x2 supersede the technology of VR4x1. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a comparison between the two. You know, I wanted to also remind you that a lot of our clients still use Shelly's Volume VR4 by 1 for their own trading methodologies. Perhaps one of the trading methodologies may be staying in a move a little bit longer, not being faked out by the pullbacks. And here you can see that here very clearly. Shelly's Volume VR4 by 1 is a visualization of a very smoothed volume trend. And I used to use Shelly's Volume VR4 by 1 for my money management. Now I use Shelly's Volume VR4 by 2, and I'm going to show you why I use it very shortly. But Shelly's Volume VR4 by 1, which is on the screen now, does a very, very good job. It's a more smooth volume, and here you can see several pullbacks against this move, but Shelly's volume VR4 by 1 volume was still pointing down. If you're looking for an indicator to keep you in the moves a little bit longer, perhaps Shelly's volume VR4 by 1 is the answer. But one of the things that I don't like about Shelly's volume VR4 by 1 is some of the pullbacks against your position. Remember that in this case, I'm looking at 610 tick bars here in this case, because I wanted to show you that Shelly's volume VR4 by 1 and VR4 by 2 could work on all sorts of different bars. I traditionally use 1 point bars. Let me turn on Shelly's volume VR4 by 2 now. One of the things that I didn't like was the pullbacks against my position. If I was in a short trade, for example, here, and I would have a big pullback against my position, that made me feel uncomfortable. I wanted something a little bit more reactive, a little bit faster to turn, something that would be much more closer to what price action was. Shelly's Volume VR4 by 2 is that. It's also much more adaptive. And let me tell you what that means. Well, first of all, let's take a look at Shelly's Volume VR4 by 2 a little bit closer. And you can see that during these pullbacks in price, you can see much more movement in Shelly's Volume VR4 by 2. And since I'm using Shelly's Volume VR4 by 2 for my money management, and my money management is very simple, and I'll explain this in a different movie. But in short, right now, if I'm going long here and volume hooks against me, I want to get out because I don't want to suffer through a big pullback. You can see Shelly's volume VR4 by 1 hooks a little bit slower. It's not as quick to react. That could be advantageous for longer term traders. But for short term traders like me, I want quick reaction. I want to get out. My money management says if volume hooks against me, get out. Consequently, that's why I like Shelly's Volume VR4 by 2. It's much more reactive. You can put Shelly's Volume VR4 by 1 and VR4 by 2 on any time frame you want. Here's 610 um, tick bars. Let's just go to, I don't know, this is what I typically use, 4 range bars. And Shelly's volume VR4 by 2 is definitely much more reactive, definitely shows more inflections, the pullbacks in the market, and turns a lot faster too. I mean, you can see Shelly's volume VR4 by 2 turning a lot faster than Shelly's volume VR4 by 1. That's definitely, as a fast futures trader, that's definitely what I want. It's also showing you it's also much more adaptive. So Shelly's volume VR4 by 1, the thin line, does not have, I'm sorry, has a fixed length in it. Shelly's Volume VR4x2 does not. It's fully adaptive. It's constantly lengthening and shortening itself as as the market cycles lengthen and shorten themselves. So having a much more reactive volume for me is definitely advantageous. And I gotta say, I think since using Shelly's Volume VR4x2, I have to say that um, I've been more profitable. I really have. And the biggest part of trading is 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 not losing as much money on the trades that go against you. And again, and I invite you to look at the money management movie, which is several below this one. And that's about it. That's the difference between Shelly's Volume VR4x1 and Shelly's Volume new VR4x2. Thanks for listening, everybody.